Everyone loved my Marilyn Monroe tutorial. It was one of my favourite tutorials I did, my burst of tutorials for Christmas, and I wanted to do something different because I've done a Marilyn Monroe tutorial in the past that I didn't post, and I thought, why would I do something that everyone else has done? Everyone's done a Marilyn Monroe tutorial that's very similar to her makeup, and I wanted to do something more exaggerated. However, it didn't come across great on the camera I was using. It looked a little bit kind of iridescent looking, and it was way more exaggerated than I think people were interested in watching. So it was a really successful tutorial, but I didn't like the final result of it on camera. Sadly, it looked very good in real life, but it didn't look so good on camera. So I've done it again today, as I have new platinum blonde hair, and I thought, what not of a better way to do something this week than to do scream sirens and to recreate that tutorial that I love doing. So one of my biggest inspirations for the kind of drag makeup I do, or just drag in general, is Jimmy James. Jimmy James was the best Marilyn impersonator ever. He was popular in the late 80s and 90s and was on many talk shows. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube you can see if you Google. He's an amazing singer-songwriter as well. He's had a successful album, so he's a really fantastic person. He killed Marilyn. He knew exactly how to do the makeup, and there was like a shot of him where he did his makeup on a talk show. So I kind of had a look at that. Don't forget to check out Jimmy James on YouTube because he's amazing, and he's definitely one of my inspirations when I did this Marilyn look. But I really hope you enjoy the tutorial. Stay watching, subscribe, and I will see you all soon. Last time I actually used more of a kind of exaggerated style of doing this. I wanted to create almost like a caricature, kind of Amanda Lepore inspired as opposed to more Marilyn inspired. So I use a lot more heavier products than I assume would have been realistic. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my favourite foundation for summer, which is the Lancome Teint Idol Ultra. I'm just going to buff it in with my fingers. So I'm going to do some contouring with the nose, and I'm going to use more of a kind of like very, very light contour. I'm going to be using this colour, and I'm going to be using this just to sculpt the tip, and then I'm going to use this to pull apart my bridge, so we're creating a wider bridge. And I'm using this just to lower the forehead slightly, so I'm using it on the outside. Then, using a slightly darker tone, I'm going to accent what we've just done. Taking my darker tone and looking straight at the camera, I'm going to then exaggerate this. So, now these lines are blended, I'm using a really pale colour just to really pull the bridge apart slightly. So this is the highlighting. I'm going to blend all of this contouring in with some powder foundation just to give it a little bit more coverage and to dim all the lines down a little bit. So let's go on with some more contouring. I'm just going to add a little bit of an espresso. I'm going to use Espresso by MAC as an eyeshadow just because it's a nice muted brown. I'm going to mix a little bit of the yellow I've got next to it. I'm not sure what that yellow is, but I always like it for blending out. And I'm just going to pull this onto the cheek a little bit. I'm actually going to be mixing this grey colour with Omega by MAC, and I'm using this to really exaggerate the hairline. Normally I round off my hairline, but Marilyn's obviously very famous for her heart-shaped face, so I'm going to plan to exaggerate that. I've begun mapping out my brows in the espresso colour again. I'm just trying to get a feel of where I want to draw them in, because I'm actually going to draw the hairs in one by one. I'm going to be taking this tan concealer, not the darkest one that I used to wear when I had red hair, but this one. And I start, let me find a better picture. I'm starting to map out the hairs. So I'm going to use a slightly darker tone just to give some definition to where the brows will be thicker. So now the brows are on, I'm going to softly add some more definition to the eye, and just to accent what I've already done. So I'm going to start off with some white. I think this is just over my Mac. Now I'm going to take the espresso colour and just pull the crease up. Taking a kohl pencil, I'm going to line the tide line. Taking one of my tiny brushes and using some gel eyeliner even. I'm going to look into the mirror. I'm going to pull the wing and really start to build up the outside slowly. When I did do this tutorial before, it was very exaggerated, but I know people were like, no, we don't like the lips. So just don't do them that big, it's not that complicated. So I'm going to start, and it's really difficult for me because my top lip is very kind of like tall. I would prefer it if it was like there for this. So it was lifted slightly, because if I draw them out to here and then square them off slightly, they'll look very, very, very false. So I'm just gonna go with it. You guys may hate this, so I pre-warned. It's so very easy to make these lips look clown-like, so do err with caution, but the shape is very, very simple to do. Put a brighter red. And I start to really sketch in. So I think this is kind of where we're going with it. I just need to add a little bit of a brighter colour, but let's sharpen off the edges and slim them down slightly. Ooh. With some concealer. So I'm taking a concealer again in my own skin colour. So just taking Gulabi lipstick by MAC, which is a little bit pinker than I think could be used, but I like the idea of adding a blue tone to the centre to give it some dimension. There. So here is the finished look. I really hope you loved it. I've tried to do Marilyn's hair so many times. Obviously the last tutorial I did, I had a really awful wig that was sent to me by mistake. What I've done is I've curled my hair with about this wand thing, and then I've tried to sweep it to one side because it doesn't suit my face to have so much hair off my face. I think I look a little bit like a sort of feral bulldog or something. I don't know, it just doesn't make my face look very pretty. So there's a picture that I see of her all the time because my dad's obsessed with Marilyn Monroe. He's given me a book, and she's in the garden in black and white, and it's all kind of like windswept to one side, and I like that hairstyle better. So it's a little bit kind of a modern interpretation of the hair, but the makeup I think is pretty similar. I really hope you like this. It was such a pleasure to do it again because I know my first one was way different to this. It was a totally different interpretation. So thank you everyone that's watched. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more tutorials from me.